Ladies and gentlemen, I'm recording this video in the first quarter of 2025. And unless you've been living under a rock or in a place so remote it's disconnected from the rest of the world, AI has taken over. Chatbots, LLMs, etc. But in chess, AI has been better than humans for 30 years, roughly. But now we have a serious problem. AI in chess now has a sense of humor. AI knows how to troll. Chess engines now have personalities. That's what I'm going to be sharing with you in this video. Absolutely horrifying, but good news for us, absolutely hilarious. Now, let's get into this. This is a game played on chess.com between Torch and Elo Chess 0. Elo Chess is a very powerful neural network. Torch is the computer currently being designed by a team of engineers, I think some included on chess.com. And this was a speed game played between these two computers who have a speed rating of 3,885. If you're watching this, you may have a rating 3,600 points lower than that, maybe even more. Absolutely terrifying stuff. But what I'm going to show you here is one of the most disrespectful games ever played by two AIs ever. So here we go. White opened with the move pawn to e4. All good. Elo Chess responded with g6. This is called the modern defense. And the point is you control the center with a bishop from a distance. d4, bishop g7, knight c3, and knight f3. If you're watching this, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced player, this is one of the best ways to start. I mean, 2 pawns, 2 knights. If you can put 2 pawns in the center and 2 knights, it's probably the best way to play. Sometimes you can even put 3 pawns in the center or even 4 pawns, okay? Black plays c6. This may be a little bit obscure to some of you. Black is not putting their pieces on the traditional squares. Black wants to play b5. Black actually has a long-term plan here that white might castle the king that way, so we start a preemptive attack. All of this is actually normal. It may look strange, but don't worry about it. White plays h3. That's simply preventing the bishop from ever going here, and since that bishop also cannot go to this square, black will struggle in the long run to develop the light-squared bishop. So black plays knight f6, white develops, black castles, white castles. So far, I'm not sure that you can call this anything except a completely normal game of chess. By the way, white's light-squared bishop is camping inside the territory. Some of you, again, who have played chess for some time, are probably used to seeing the bishop on that square, particularly in the fried liver, the Italian game. You generally don't want to put your bishop on this square if it will be a target for the enemy pawns. For, frankly, in this case, either of them. That's why the bishop is standing on d3. Anyway, both sides castle. Elo expands with this move b5. And after Torch plays rook e1, Elo continues expanding. So we have Torch with the white pieces, Elo with the black pieces, and this bar on the left side of your screen is actually controlled by Stockfish. So Stockfish is watching its children play a chess game, basically. That's the way this works. So white is very well set up. Everything is pointed in this. I mean, you can develop a bishop. You can go here. White advances with this move e5. Basically, you would like to trade pawns, and after trading the pawn, white can take with the pawn, which is the best move, but taking with the knight is also not bad. Taking with the rook looks a little... Actually, knight takes would lose a pawn, actually. I just realized. So maybe a rook takes is okay. The best move, however, is to take with the pawn, not just because you are attacking the knight, although that is a nice reason. You gain space, you open up some squares for your pieces, and your pieces, have a very natural progression of their next few moves. This is how good players play chess. Like, what are the next 3 to 4 moves of my position? Which is why Elo actually goes back. Elo does not take. Elo prefers to be taken, at which point it will probably take back with the knight or the queen, although taking with the pawn, also not terrible. So the knight goes back to e8, and Torch just plays queen e2. Look, so far so good, right? So far nobody is doing anything too insane. So far everything here is pretty understandable. Now white takes back. By the way, very quickly, that actually could have also happened like this, right? Anyway, queen e2, takes, and the knight goes to c7. Okay. This is not a riddle. How do you actually play chess? Have you ever just sat there and asked yourself that question? How do you actually play? Like, what is chess? You look at this position in front of you, And you're like, okay, now what? Well, obviously we have more space. We have not developed the bishop and the rook. You ask me what we're doing here, I would like to play bishop f4 or bishop g5 and put my rook in the center, targeting the queen. That's pretty easy. Then you start asking yourself, what does black want? Black probably wants something like this, but then I just move my knight. Well, Torch, which is rated 3,885 in speed chess, plays a4. So it's targeting the pawns that black has presented to white. And it's a difficult situation because either black is going to advance, lose control of the light squares, meaning the bishop is going to be able to go there, or black will take, or black will leave the pawn there and get taken. b4 is the move played. Now we have knight e4. This inclusion is a benefit to white because you made the pawns come forward. Now your bishop will be able to very happily live on the c4 square. So nice utilization. An idea here by black, trading the light squared bishop on a6. Knight d7. Knight g5. Here's another idea that white is showing. When the opponent has a limited number of defenders near the king, in this case, one, there's just one major piece. That's not a major piece, it's a minor piece, but it's the only piece defending the king. You can begin moving stuff over there. You know, you could begin like, well, what if I had a queen over here? In general, the way you attack in chess is you think about it like, hey, what if I had a few moves in a row? And, you know, what would I be able to go here and here and here? That's the way you have to think of attacking in chess, okay? And that's why the move knight to g5 was played in this position. Now we have knight c5. So black is targeting the pawn, the pawn on a4 and the bishop on the d3 square. Now what? Now we go here. We've already talked about all of this. We've already talked about all this. That's exactly what white wanted to do. That's why the bishop is on the that's why the bishop is now on the c4 square, but before that, white played the move a4. So white has accomplished basically everything that they wanted. You know? Everything's good. Okay, knight d5. Leela is playing defense with its horses. Bishop e3. Targeting the knight. And offering this to be taken. Why? Because after this, this is the only active piece in the black position, and then white will play rook d1 and have a very nice game. Bishop e3, knight e6. Rook d1. Look at this. Look at this beauty. Everything has been accomplished. Every white piece is participating in the game. Black has 5 pieces on the back rank. If you're a beginner, that's not how you should play. Your pieces should be out and about. They should be doing stuff. They should be active, participating in the game, etc. Queen goes to c7. Now we begin the demolition process. All right, first we're going to back out of the position, and now we're going to start, threatening stuff. We're threatening to take the knight. We're threatening to take that knight. We're threatening to put the knight on g5 and keep going for an attack. We're threatening the queen to come here and the queen to go to the h4 square. By the way, we have backup. The rooks can also be used. The h-pawn can be used. Black plays knight back to c5, disallowing queen to e4. That was the entire idea. That is why the bishop departed, to allow the queen to go over and there. Bishop a2. And now, the only move in the position to prove an advantage here. Your knight is under attack, folks. What do you do? Most of you look at this position, you go, my knight is hanging, knight e4. Then you lose your advantage. So, queen c4. Wow. Target my knight, I target your knight. Danger levels, right? I always like to say, you don't have to acknowledge a threat if you can make an equal or exceeding one in nature. Now black plays b3. That is a really weird move. You basically are offering the opponent a free pawn, which Torch gladly accepts. And the point is that now this bishop is blocked. And Leela's arguing, well, the bishop is terrible now. That's what you get. But after queen b6 in this simple trade, white is a pawn up. White just has an extra pawn. Yeah, the bishop is garbage, but maybe the bishop will come here in the future, right? So maybe white is going to be actually okay. Leela, meanwhile, activates all of its pieces and just has a fantastic looking position. I mean, Leela's a pawn down, but got a beautiful knight. Bishop is strong. Bishop is strong. This bishop can't even go to b1 because it's going to get taken. So what are you going to do in this position? You're going to go bishop b1 because it can get taken. Bishop takes b1. You have this move. And now we enter, right? The rook was attacking. And we're going to enter an endgame that looks like this, where white is still a pawn up. But you're about to witness something absolutely vile, something absolutely disgusting. What Torch is about to do to Leela needs to be in sensitivity training videos for future games between computers against one another. Black plays rook b8, targeting the pawn. White goes bishop d4, defending the pawn. Black goes knight f4, attacking the rook. White moves the rook out of danger. How is White going to win this game? Well, in the long run, White is going to have 7 pawns versus 6. That's winning. But to get there, you're going to have to correctly trade pieces, and you're going to have to not lose any pawns. Knight e6. Solid. Attacks the pawn, defends the pawn. Black just sort of sitting around because White is defending all their weaknesses. White attacks the pawn. Black defends the pawn. Chess is a very logical game. Now White makes an improvement. Right? White's got to make some sort of progress in the position. Black goes h5, doesn't really let White make any progress. Now we start bringing the king. Innocent, effortless improvement without making too many big commitments. Black also does nothing. White also does nothing. Right? Both sides are just sort of moving their pieces around, preparing for the next phase of battle. Okay, White made some progress. That pawn couldn't have been taken. It looks good because rook takes pawn would have been check. Now Black just defends. So how is White going to make any progress here? Look at this. The position's been totally locked. White can't go b4 and White can't go f4 without losing something. So how is White going to do anything? Black has done a very nice job. Humans here would probably blunder something catastrophic. Well, watch this. Check, king g7. There it is. Beautiful repositioning. So the rook goes to f6. The bishop goes to e1. The pawn comes up, and Black's pawns are going to totally fall up. Wait a minute, the rook is trapped. So Torch deliberately puts the rook into Black's territory and sends it off to die. It's just like, you will be sacrificed, but I will break through the position. Look, it takes on g5. It takes with check and takes on h4. So you got a bishop and you got both these pawns and you had an extra pawn from before. So bishop and 3 pawns for a rook. 3 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 6, in case you didn't know that. But how are we going to... We still can't do anything. Look at this. Rook h8, knight back. And Black is going to... Black threatened a fork, and Torch gave up both its rooks. Torch gives up both of its rooks, throws in a check, and goes here. This is crazy. What even is this? So it realized that Black's position is so dominated that the bishop and the knight and the multiple extra pawns are enough to win the game. That's bananas. Black has counterplay on 3 lines. Black has counterplay against this pawn, Black has counterplay against this pawn, and Black has counterplay down the open file. But if you put the king on c2, Black no longer has counterplay down the b and the d lines, and Black definitely is not going to get counterplay down the g line because White is going to go here and push Black backwards. So the position doesn't look particularly appealing. Rook g8, check here, and now knight g5. That's basically mate. That's basically checkmate. You're going to lose this and lose everything. So you have to do this. Now, this looks like a huge win. Here's the problem. This move looks very good, right? Because you're going to win this pawn. And you're going to win the rest of them. Yeah, but how are you going to defend against that? And I got news for you. This looks good. Looks like the rook is a problem. He's not. He's not a problem. There's checks, that doesn't matter. And if you go attack that pawn, I go here, you take, and then I am 3 squares away from queening, and you simply don't have time to stop my pawns because I have more pawns. And then I can also bring my king and eat pawns, and my pawns are defended by my bishop, which are stopping your pawns from going up the board. So Black is totally lost. But this is the most unbelievable part of this game. Black goes c5, White goes here, Black goes here, and Black just begins playing defense. Okay? Now, we are on move 62. I told you at the beginning of this video, computers now troll. This game, from this point forward, took 109 moves to finish. 109 more moves, just for one side. The sides together made 218 more moves. Isn't that crazy? But you know what the craziest part is? There's only one winning idea. It's virtually impossible to find. Why? This is protected by this. This is protected by this. The king can't enter. And if you play b4, of course, a horrible move, because after this, nothing has changed. You just gave black an advantage. So where's the win? I mean, the king can't enter. The bishop can't take any pawn. g6 doesn't make any sense because pawn takes, king takes. And the king cannot go help with the g-pawn advance. Like, even if you go here, the white king can't help. So what do? Well, Torch, because Torch is rated 3,885, knows what to do. It knows what to do. It just refuses to do it. I'm going to keep clicking the right arrow. In case it's not clear, I've already briefed you on what's going to happen in this game. Okay, we've made 20 moves. Nothing has happened. In chess, there are 2 rules that would make this game end in a draw. 1, 3-time repetition. Okay, so if the sides did this, like you saw that? If the sides go boop, 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 boop. If they repeat 3 times, it's a draw. If they repeat a position 3 times, not in a row, but at any given moment, it's also a draw. But the difference is that Torch keeps moving its king. Look at this. It keeps moving its king. It's moving its bishop, and then it moves its king. So it keeps threatening Leela with a draw. It keeps doing 3-move repetition, and then it moves the king to a different square, and then it moves the bishop to a different square, and then it moves its bishop back, and then it moves its king to a different square, and then it moves its bishop to a new square, and then it moves its bishop back, and then it moves the bishop, and then it moves the pawn. So now the position has reset. We can now no longer have the 50-move rule. We are 101 moves into this game. Rook goes back. Okay, now let's just do this a little bit more. Ring around the rosy. Up. Maybe you'll hang up. The king goes. Why is the king going there? Why is the king going to b2? Yo, the bot has a sense of humor. I mean, of course the king is completely useless here, but it's also useless on those squares, right? Bishop f2. It's like king a2. But where's the king move? Where's the there it is. It's not making the draw. It's messing with Leela. Look at this. Bishop up. It's just messing around. This is insane. And now it moves the king again. Bishop f2. Bishop b1. Remember, the game, I think, would have auto-finished with the repetition. So now the king is going to walk to the middle. We are 144 moves into this game. It's trolling. I mean, it's an engine. It knows what the winning plan is. May I present to you the winning plan? Pawn to g6. You have to have the king and the bishop active. You have to have them pointed at the opponent's pawn. The bishop cannot, for example, be on that square. It would be, maybe it's still winning, actually. No, it's a draw. So everything has to be perfectly positioned for this move to happen. But here's the point. This is why this is winning 146 moves into the game. It's not because I take on g6. It's because I play this. This is why this position is winning. Why? Because if you take on h5, I take the pawn on c5, protect the promotion square, and you cannot take me. So you have to go here. When you do that, I take on g6. So now my pawns defend each other, and the idea is quite simple. The idea is to go promote. You can't take on g6, because then I would take on c... Still winning. It's still winning. Why is it still winning? Because the king is active. Because now you go here, attacking the pawn on a5, and then when I try to protect it, you can bring in the king. So your king has to be in the center. If the king was here, this is a draw. So Torch set everything up perfectly to time this break at the exact right moment of the positioning of the king and the bishop, and did this, and brought the king over. And now it looks like, it looks like the final piece of the puzzle is there, but you take on a5. That is the point. And if the black rook runs over here to create checks, again, this is the winning idea. Now you block, the pawns advance. Black cannot stop 3 connected pawns. It's just not going to happen. So king c4, the rook goes to g8, the pawn has been won. Let the pawns go to work. Bishop back, a5, b4, a6, and there it is. You're going to block. You're going to check. If you take, I push, but it doesn't matter. You give up the other pawn, and now the last winning move, 163 moves into the game. The pawn is queening. This is the only way to try to defend yourself. It's not going to work. You will run out of squares, and this game ends with a checkmate. 172 moves! 172 moves. But the craziest part about this game is the fact that Torch knew from this position that it was winning. It knew that sacrificing the 2 rooks in a totally dominant position, by the way, this is very instructive, shows you that rooks are endgame pieces, but when they are controlled by a pawn majority and bishop and knight, they actually coordinate very, very well together. And as long as rooks don't have easy access on their open files or semi-open files with targets, they're completely useless. They are stuck on the other side, and they can very easily be outplayed by a bishop and a knight, particularly a bishop. So very, very nice job here. And I mean, dude, I can't believe it trolled Leela for that long. Just absolutely ridiculous game. 172 moves. Never made a 3-time repetition, threatened to draw so many times. Just funny stuff. Just funny stuff. Torch wins a very nice game, very instructive game. Hopefully you learned a couple of things. Hopefully you smiled at the ridiculousness of this. And I can't wait until the chess.com algorithm grants these computers a rating of 4,000, because that is just absolutely bananas. Folks, I will be in Europe, May 2025. Brussels, London, Vienna, Munich, Berlin, and Warsaw. You can get your tickets. There is a link in the description. Live Guess the Elo, special guests on stage. Hoping for some big names to be announced soon. And if you want to improve your chess and beat your dad or your kids or spouse or enemies or dog or cat at chess, check out Chessly. That's all I have for you today. Get out of here.